It is tier list time. Let's not waste any time and start making the tier list. Starting us off is going to be Ana. So before we do jump into ranking the heroes, I want to talk about what the meta is looking like. The meta is a mix of, well, it's a little bit more map dependent, but there's a lot of dive being played given how strong Winston and Diva are feeling right now. Zarya is also pretty prominent in some cases, so it's I would argue it's a mix of dive, brawl, and rush, but definitely the standout is Diva, and we'll get to in just a moment. So where does Ana fit into all of this? I would actually say Ana is actually pretty damn good. Like, I wouldn't rate her exactly S tier. Like, she's fine. She can play the game. The new health pools kind of help her also kind of keep up with healing up certain targets, and it makes some of her interactions with the game much better, depending on the character she's facing. But she does get shut down and dived very easily by Diva and Winston, which can be a little bit tough to, play Ana into unless you have a Brigitte on your team. So Ana is pretty good. She fits into like pretty much any comp you can play her anywhere really. And if you're an Ana main, it's a pretty damn good season, especially since she is about to get a mythic weapon as well. So Ana is actually pretty damn good. Really not that bad. Ashe, I would argue, is probably good or meta tier depending. Like, okay, so if the map is like really poke favored, Ashe is like the go-to pick, right? Like one of the best hitscan DPS you can be playing. But if it's not, like, she's generally speaking, Ashe is pretty good. Like, you can play her, and flex her into a bunch of compositions. Obviously, if your team needs you to play something to help the team comp out and perhaps do something like, let's say you guys want to dive a backline, then do not play Ashe and play something else. But Ashe is a character you can definitely play most places. I'm gonna drop her maybe in good or meta. I'm not exactly sure, but you know what? Because there's so many maps where Ashe is actually pretty damn good, and oh, Mercy's damage boost went up, I'd probably say, you know what, she's meta. Like on her maps, she certainly, even with the Mercy pocket, can take over pretty damn well. So Bap is pretty damn good. Bap fits in pretty much everywhere. Like, he only really struggles sometimes with dive comps, but even on like really tight and closed in maps, like I've been starting to see, at least in my ranked games, like Baptiste being played with certain dive tanks on the new Clash game mode, because Clash is so closed in. Bap's AoE healing can take advantage of that, so it's really easy to play Bap even with dive tanks. And given that Diva's new playstyle is a little bit of a hybrid playstyle, Bap is really good with Diva and can make Diva feel nearly unkillable. Bap, I don't understand how Baptiste never dodges nerfs, but here we are. Bastion's bad, or in some cases can be niche, but unfortunately I'm going to drop him in bad. Bastion not only gets crapped on by Diva, any well-coordinated dive, or even any well-coordinated, or even a slightly coordinated, or just a decent poke towards the Bastion can easily destroy his HP bar. Hanzo's pretty good into him, Echo's good into him, Genji's decent into him, Diva shuts him down. The meta just doesn't favor Bastion. Unfortunately, Bastion's just an entry-level character, so he kind of suffers from that, and unless they would completely rework the entire character identity, I don't see him ever going above the niche tier. And if they do that, then wow, that would be crazy. Brigitte is actually not that bad. She is good, I would argue, because again the meta, especially like the definitely big standout, if we had to isolate it to one tank even till now, it is Diva, right? And the thing is that Brigitte does a really good job of not only like she can do a good job of pressuring Diva if the Diva comes in, but she does a great job of not only looking out for her supports, but actually controlling the space that the Diva is trying to take. Like if the Diva tries to come in, Brigitte can boop her away, at the same time also triggering Inspire. And the thing is that it's very easy for Brigitte to do that, because Diva is one of the tanks that doesn't necessarily bring forth an immediate threat feeling to the Brigitte player. Like for example, if you're playing Brig into Rhine or Ram, that's very easy for those tanks to walk up and delete you. But against like Diva, you can actually do a lot of things to not only get her away from you, but also sometimes duel her if you need to. Still, she maintains her identity in the current 5v5 state as the best babysitter support tank, where you look out for your team, you enable your dives as best as you can, or even, she can fit into some other compositions. But right now, the reason for her strength and why I would put her in maybe good, and then in worst case scenario, she's mid, right? If you're playing her in a comp that has like next to no synergy and into your worst counters, only then does she drop to bad. But outside that, she's either good or mid. But to be fair, the Brigittes that I've been playing it with are really good. And I honestly, like, I love playing with amazing breaks. So, you know what, I'm going to throw her in good. So, you know what, shout outs to the Diva players, Brigitte players in ranked. You guys are amazing at controlling Diva's spacing and what she wants to do sometimes. So, Next character is Cassidy. I'm going to keep it real with you guys. Cass isn't meta, nor is he mid, niche, or bad. He's okay, he's good. Maybe considering mid. He's very strong in certain scenarios, in certain maps. But again, Diva is the name of the game right now. And right behind her is arguably Winston. And both of them just evaporate Cassidy, which is, you know, like, he can't do much about it. Like, maybe against Winston, you can put up a bit of a fight if you're pretty good with your cooldown usage. But Diva is a character, like, against hitscans, Diva just shuts them down so fast. But Cass, maybe I'll put him in mid. I don't know. Like, I'm not really playing Cass. I play him here and there. Very, like, you know, I'm not a hitscan main, but I do play him a little bit here and there. But from what I've seen from hitscan players, you know, Cassidy has his maps, but again, I wouldn't necessarily put him in good or meta, maybe mid. Like, that damage fall off really did hurt him quite a bit. He's a chunky boy, he's pretty thick, he's pretty tanky with his HP bar, but his damage output can vary depending on the map. So let's say if the map favors Cassidy, I'd put him in good. If the map doesn't favor him and you're just kind of playing him into, because, you know, you just want to play him, he's pretty mid, he's alright. Doomfist, oh boy. Okay, so Doom is mid or good at best. This meta really doesn't favor him, and the new armor changes, Doom sucks really hard against it. He really does not have the pressure that he's supposed to be bringing. That, like, it's crazy to me how before the armor changes, Doom was basically A and almost S tier depending on the situation, and ever since the whole armor changes and everything happened, Doom struggles a lot with keeping up with the armored tanks, and he can get bursted down by those, you know, armored tanks faster than they can burst him down. Now, to be fair, Doom does have a pretty decent matchup against Diva, but any good Diva that understands how to dodge your cooldowns and also zone you out is going to make your life a living hell, and once you're exposed, they're just going to burst you down with micro missiles. So I hate saying it, but I'm gonna have to drop Doom in mid. I love playing Doom, but I've had way too many games where I've been playing him where I'm like, okay, like a good Diva, even a good Winston, like, I can't keep up with them. Before I could, but right now I can't. Like, it's so hard. Like, the best thing that you can do is just zone them out. You can't even, like, brawl them because their armor, like, armor is so strong right now that Doomfist just feels like he's shooting, like, water from his, like, little gauntlet gun thingy. It's just kind of sad. Like, I don't think we need to buff Doom. I think the biggest takeaway from this is we need to nerf armor. Like, armor and maybe the headshot reduction thingy needs to go too. Moving on, Diva's S tier. I think we're going to be talking about Diva quite a bit because she's pretty much everywhere. At least even in my ranked games, like right now in Masters and above, she's everywhere. I cannot, like, it's making me want to rip my hair out, and it really doesn't help that one of the few characters that's about to come up that could pressure Diva has been nerfed to the point that Diva just destroys her too. It's actually really sad and depressing. Diva's a very powerful tank. Her nerf was not enough. I would actually argue that I don't mind Diva having the Matrix as long as the armor isn't that strong, because when Matrix does go down, because trust me, there's a lot of Diva players that are bad with their Matrix management, even Masters and above. Problem is when Diva's Matrix does go down, the armor is so strong paired with the healing behind her that it doesn't matter the damage that you do, even collectively as a team, because, you know, let's say there's a BAP behind it, like his insane AoE healing paired with, let's say, an Ana or Brigitte or Kiriko behind that insane AoE healing coming in, like, and then the little, like, you know, defense matrix sessions that can pop up in between, all of that plus the armor that's reducing damage like crazy, at least right now. It's just more, it like all that put together is the sole reason why Diva is so strong. So in my personal opinion, like, the Matrix is back to what it used to be, which is 3 seconds, but it's clearly showing us that Matrix wasn't the strong point of why Diva is strong. The reason she's basically living forever, unless you do force beam characters into her, and implying that also works out first and foremost, is the fact that her, like, the armor on Diva is insanely oppressive and her mobility is insanely good. Like, not only, I think her boosters are 3.5, but pair that with the micro missiles, you can be everywhere doing everything. You can peel, you can dive, you can just stall out fights. Diva's so good right now, it's insane. And again, I would rather that she does maintain her ability to fight, because she's been one of the poor tanks that transitioned into 5v5. Like, she was just by far the worst tank in terms of transitioning to 5v5. Regardless, I would much prefer it if Diva did lose the armor. And, you know, it would feed into being a really good Diva main rather than just, okay, I exist and I live and I never die. So Diva, in my personal opinion, needs to lose the headshot multiplier. I think all the tanks need to lose that, and armor needs to revert back to what it was before all these insane quote-unquote tankiness changes came through, and then I think she will be fine. Moving over to 𝐒𝐂. 𝐒𝐂 was unironically S or good, A tier, S tier, depending on comps and situation, especially against Diva. She had a very good matchup with being able to beam her down, poke her from afar, etc., etc. But now with the 225 HP pool changes and the permanent and the strength of like characters like Ana, Bap, you know, Ashe, even Cassidy, 𝐒𝐂's unironically dropped down to mid as well. She's really difficult to make work right now. And again, I'm talking about this with a little bit more relevance to meta comp, like, you know, playing into the Diva. Otherwise, like, she's good against pretty much anything else, but once you are running into those Diva compositions, 𝐒𝐂 does kind of drop to mid. She's not niche or bad tier per se, but she's kind of mid right now. It's crazy how she didn't get any compensation buffs to begin with. And Blizzard's like logic and argument that, well, it's because she's one of the top performing DPS, it's so it's crazy to me, because what they didn't understand of why 𝐒𝐂 is the top performing DPS is like she's one of the only people who can actually fight and help against the Diva. So I don't know, man. Like, okay, again, 𝐒𝐂's like if Diva's not there, 𝐒𝐂 instantly bumps up to like good, but once Diva comes in, it does become a bit more rough to play, so I'm gonna drop her in mid. Okay, so Genji's really niche, and then in worst case scenario, he's bad. Genji desperately needs help, and at the same time, Hanzo, we're gonna talk about both of the Shimadas together. Both of them have lost their identities, and it's never had anything to do with the meta. It's never had anything to do with meta. What does meta even mean? There's a lot of people that throw the word meta around while they do not understand what it even means. Meta means most effective tactic available. Most effective tactic available. I've always asked for anybody out there to justify one thing. When was Genji in the Overwatch 2 lifespan the hero-defining meta character? Never happened. Was a complementary character to what the meta compositions were, like Junker Queen, Ghosts, etc., etc. Hanzo never even was a part of any meta as a complementary pick or as a redefining pick. The problem with Genji and Hanzo both is that they are both very, very popular characters, especially Genji. We know that they've always said Genji is by far the most popular male character, and I'm sure right behind him is his brother Cassidy and some others. The problem with Genji and Hanzo is that they're so popular that they're all over the place, and the problem is that they are always being seen most of the time in the general community's games. And because being on the receiving end of, well, I'm always seeing Genji, I'm always seeing Hanzo, and I don't like playing against them, there's a lot of, you know, annoyances from that silver elo, gold elo community where they'd say things like, well, Genji's still too strong, or Hanzo's one-shotting me. And it's just sad, because I would unironically argue, out of all the characters in the game, Hanzo and Genji have the most counters across all three roles. And I would even argue that these three are the skill check characters. If you're struggling against these two, you're doing something wrong with the game, and you really need to get better as a player, and please don't take offense to that. Yes, there were cases where sometimes a random arrow hits you, but trust me, most of the time that's not the case. The Hanzo is lining up the shots and trying to predict your movement and headshot you. And in Genji's case, dude, this hero is pathetic. Like, he's really not that hard to deal with. And it's just, again, a lot of you just want to play your own single-player adventure game and then get upset when Genji punishes you. And then the same thing happens when Tracer punishes you, when Sombra punishes you, when Reaper punishes you. But it's like, we can't keep balancing characters like this that, oh, well, the silver support player got upset that a Genji flanked her. Okay, let's nerf Genji. Oh, well, the silver support player got upset that Tracer flanked her. Let's nerf it. Like, come on now. I mean no offense to my support players out there. I love you guys, but I have to be a little bit realistic here. The reason why both of them are now niche or arguably bad is because of low elo players, and I'm tired of trying to sugarcoat it and go around it. Both of them deserve to be at least good or mid. Both of them are horrible in this meta. Like, Genji is doing like one of the lowest damages against armor alongside Soldier 76, and Hanzo just gets shut down by everything in the game right now. He cannot keep up with tanks. Like, Winston makes his life a living hell. Diva just completely shuts down anything that he wants to do if the Diva is smart. He's decent into maybe Brawl, like against Brawl and with Brawl you can play him. But this is a character that was designed as a sniper for 7 to 8 years, and on the 8th year they decided he's not a sniper anymore. And really, it's crazy. Once you strip identities from characters, they just have no way to fit into the game, and arguably both of these characters, especially Genji, is definitely high skill ceiling. And I mean, House is pretty much about just having really good projectile aim, but that can be a challenge for a lot of players too. So I would say high skill ceiling as well, or at least mid skill ceiling, but neither of these characters deserves to be niche. Seriously, neither of these characters deserves to be niche, especially when there's more than enough counters for both of them, and 80% of the roster shits on both of them. So it's just sad to see where Genji and Hanzo are. You can certainly play them, but they're gonna be really underwhelming experiences. Jungle Queen. Jungle Queen is mid or niche, I would say. Queen's problems are always going to be one thing that I repeat over and over and over again. Problem with Jungle Queen is she's really good in casual level play. But the problem with her is that there's been so much tank power creep, and it's hurt her the most. I feel like I'll dedicate a longer video to Jungle Queen and why she's bad and save that for a little bit later. But the TLDR is armor is so strong. A lot of the other brawl tanks just brawl better than Queen does, and Queen relies on way too much on her passives and like combos to really get her true potential off, where it can be very mechanically challenging to be consistent with it. And because of that, why play Queen when you can play Ram and Ryan, who are just 10 times easier and do 10 times more? Which is sad, because I actually really like Jungle Queen, but unfortunately she's a niche pick. And even then, like, she immediately drops to becoming a bad character the moment a Kiriko's in the lobby, because Kiriko's entire existence can shut down your value in terms of passive, you know, the passives being applied and then the ultimate. So it's just sad. So I'm gonna drop Queen and see, like, you can play her if you're like in low elo, you can play her and get away with her sometimes if you have a decent team, but she really does drop off the higher up you go. Junkrat. So here's the thing. If I could have an extra tab where Junkrat would be perhaps niche but very good, Junkrat would kind of fall in there. I think Rat is very good. If Diva is not there, Junkrat's buffs that played into buffing his spam Rat playstyle, and then the new like velocity change I got explained by some of the Junkrat specialists on how all that looks like, and why that's good for him. It you know, it really enlightened me, and certainly these days there's been a lot more Junkrat enthusiasts popping up in ranked, and I was like, okay, you know what, this character is actually not that bad, so we're just gonna drop him in mid. Like, still gets, you know, shut down by a lot of hit scans and Pharah and Diva and Winston and, you know, any decent things like that. But if you've got that Junkrat specialist, dude, this guy can feel like meta, but he's not meta. He's not even, like, I wouldn't say he's good that you can play him everywhere. It's just mid. Like, he has his maps. On his maps, he's actually pretty good, and then the rest of the time he's mid or he's niche. All right, Junkrat, you get a B from me, or maybe niche. I don't know. Maybe like in between. If there's an in between, but I'll definitely put him in B. Kiriko. Oh boy. So Kiriko's changes were a massive net buff, and I don't think I need to explain why that is the case. It's made it easier for her to duel, because now you can be a body shot bandit. Kiriko's very strong. The 225 HP does hurt her a little bit, but the trade-off to being a better duelist is insane. I would argue that she is still an S tier pick. She could fit into the meta, and worst case scenario, if, you know, you're getting dived and all this stuff, you're like a A tier character. But honestly, Kiriko, I don't know. This one I'm not sure. I don't know if I want to put her in A or S tier, but maybe I would argue that she's... The 225 hurts her a little bit because of Sombra. I'm going to come to Sombra because I think people are underestimating Sombra way too much, but we'll come to her. So ignoring Sombra, she's S tier, and then like if Sombra is there, she's A tier, and she's still pathetic against fighting tanks that dive her, but her skippability is good. I don't know. I would actually ask you guys as a community, where would you rate Kiriko? Would you put her in S tier or A tier? For now, I might just drop her in A tier, because I will say that her HP pools being hurt a little bit has hurt her against certain characters and compositions, but overall she's still pretty damn good. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Lucio is very good. Maybe this is a bit of a high elo bias, but I see Lucio everywhere. Lucio players are insane. He's so good in a lot of situations. There's very few situations where he's bad. Overall, very good character to learn. If you're a support player who's trying to find, you know, a character to learn and play, Lucio is one of them. There's very few things in the game that can really harm Lucio in any way. His ultimate is really good in, you know, engage based usage or defensive usage. Lucio is very, very strong. I don't have much to say about him. That damage buff they gave him is crazy. He's doing more damage than a few DPS as well. He does more damage than Genji now, which is crazy to think about. Mei is niche. I wouldn't say she's bad. She has her place in the game. And sadly, we just have to kind of keep her there. You can play her on King of the Hill. You can play her on like Lijiang Control Center. If you know, you know what I'm talking about. I ain't gonna give away the secrets on how to dominate with Mei over there just yet. But you know, Mei is pretty damn good. She's also very good in Clash. She's really good at walling like people off in these like tight rooms and taking advantage of it. Outside of that, like, yeah, she's niche. I wouldn't say she's bad. Just because a character is niche doesn't mean they're bad guys. Like, it just means like there's areas where they have their strengths, but like the trade-offs is they're really not that good overall. If they're in mid and above, it means that they're generally good. Like, yeah, Mercy, also a niche character. She fits. So there's a surgence. There's a rise in Genji Mercy compositions. If anybody was watching the streams, you would know that I personally think maybe I accidentally caused that to happen, and with a certain video of mine that I noticed recently blew up. But at the same time, Mercy is also very good with hitscan, and she's also really good with one of the meta picks, in my opinion, which is Ashe. I do believe Ashe can do a lot of damage, and against a bunch of characters she can one-shot. So Mercies are getting behind Ashe, Mercies are getting behind Genji, and both of these are very popular characters. So Mercy's niche. You know, it's crazy because they buffed her healing and damage output to the damage boost output is 30% now and healing 60. That's the closest we've ever gotten to Moth Mercy, and even then she's niche. At least she's not bad in my opinion. She is really easy to dive. I would even argue that I would keep her at 250 HP because holy crap, like 225 with Mercy, I don't know, brother. Like the projectile size and bullet size increases. I don't know. I think she's way too squishy, and unless you have a good DPS player on your team, she drops to bad. If you have a good DPS player on your team that you can pocket, she's niche. And, you know, God bless all those Mercy mains that are trying to survive against Sombra right now, because Sombra against 225 HP is crazy. Moira is actually mid. I'm not gonna talk too much about Moira. She's mid. I think she'll be mid for a while. They're not really changing too much stuff about her. They buffed her up. The buff isn't necessarily the buff is good. Like, the buff is good. The damage buff she got from 60 to 65. I believe the highest she had was 70, which was crazy. I still think 60 is where it needed to be. I don't think she needed help in that department, especially since when they were trying to justify, they were like, you know, one of Moira's strength is her fade. Anyway, so we're gonna buff her damage now. So it's like, what was the justification? So Moira mid, she's very good at being able to pressure Diva as well, because Diva cannot do anything to stop her sucks and her ultimate. So she's mid. Moira's pretty good. I know I'm using Diva as the basis right now, but that's just because Diva is the go-to tank, and at least I'm seeing her everywhere. So I am kind of considering Diva's, relevance to the game, because I feel like it's important that when we are making these tier lists, we have to consider why certain characters are strong and how the game is being played when everybody's playing the right character. And yeah, I think right now the entire game is kind of being shaped up around two characters in particular: Diva, Winston, and arguably number 3 could be Zarya, but I would say the brawl tanks are pretty on level with one another. But yeah, Winston and Diva, definitely the main go-to tanks. I'll get to them in just a moment. Orisa, okay, extremely blistering hot take. This character is almost back. I would argue before the 2-3 buffs that she got, she was niche. But recently, she's beginning to feel like mid. And in certain cases, with a good support line that understands how to enable the Ursa, she can feel very good. I'm not going to drop her in good or S. I don't think that's the case right now. But I will say, I personally think people are sleeping on Orisa. This character is almost there to where she'll enter good and meta, and I'm scared because the developers, balance team, sorry, is saying that she's underperforming. And again, they have to understand that this is one of those characters that doesn't need to perform. There's too much frustration involved with her. She's too boring to play for the majority. I don't know. I'm really worried about Orisa, but I would personally say, again, blistering hot take, Orisa's pretty damn good, and I feel like once Diva does get her rightful nerves, because Diva kind of keeps Orisa in place, I will say that I do think Orisa could be on the rise the second Diva gets guttered out. So keep that in the back of your mind as we move on. And I'm sorry if I'm sniffling a little bit, I'm a little bit sick, so yeah. Next up, is Pharah. Pharah's okay. I'd probably say she's good or mid. Like the 225 HP pool has hurt her, but with a good mercy pocket, the new damage boost, she does go up to A. She does suck a lot against hit scan power right now and Diva. So because of that, she's gonna drop down to B. Moving on, we have Reaper. Okay, here's another insanely blistering hot take. Okay, unironically, for most situations, I actually think Reaper's meta. I've been playing a lot of Reaper, and dude, this guy feels really good right now, and he's also the only answer to Winston and Diva that can actually be effective, arguably other than Symmetra, who's only really good against Diva. Reaper is really good. If you understand how to just discipline yourself and calm yourself and play him like just like as a secondary tank to your tank, and like for example, like whenever we play when I play ranked with my tank, when I play with Playmaker and he's on Zarya, dude, I'm playing Reaper like I'm a budget Reinhardt, and we're just using that to pressure the enemy Diva. And you can do so much shenanigans with Reaper right now, and he's really tanky with 300 HP, really good mobility, and the faster teleport time. Reaper's actually very damn good right now. And the fact that Tracer got a little bit of a nerf as well, 𝐒𝐈𝐈 lost a little bit of power in her, shots as well, because 𝐒𝐈𝐈 was really good at zoning Reaper. This is maybe just my particular opinion. And again, like I said, blistering hot take, I don't expect a lot of people to agree with it. I personally think Reaper's pretty damn good. At worst, he's an A-tier character, or maybe a mid-tier character, because sometimes the map, just like if you're playing Reaper on Havana, this is not going to work out the best, right? But like assuming you're playing him like on most of the like brawl heavy maps, dude, Reaper is really good on meta. Like I might go with the S tier or A tier with Reaper. Reaper is very good. Okay, he's basically an easier to play Genji right now, which is crazy. Reinhardt is good. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Ryan is very strong right now. If you're struggling on Ryan, like, dude, what's going on? I would actually say, like, if you're smart, you can, like, Ryan can have really good matchup against Diva if you know how to time your hammer strike. So whenever I play Ryan in ranked and I'm running up against the Diva, usually I'm looking for the opportunity where Diva is matrixing, because obviously she cannot shoot back and all she can do is a micro missile, and it doesn't matter that much against me on Reinhardt. So those are usually the times I'm using to pressure her armor, try to bring that down. And most importantly, in very risky cases, but you can kind of sidestep the Diva, and if she's coming in, just pin her further into your backline, hit the wall with that 300 damage, and then instantly get her debacked with another 2-3 swings. So I would say Ryan's not that bad, but overall, like, ignoring Diva, I know I'm considering Diva a lot, guys, but you guys have to understand, I've been traumatized by Diva right now, okay? That's why I'm thinking so much about, maybe this is a bit too on the maybe Masters Plus, I would say, because right now I'm Masters Plus after the reset, so maybe it's a little bit too much here and there, but at least so far, Ryan, good. I would say he's good. He's really not that bad. He's a fun character to play right now. Very minor cases where he'll be not that good to play. Roadhog is niche. Wouldn't say he's mid, wouldn't say he's good, wouldn't say he's meta, definitely not meta. I wouldn't say he's bad either. He has his one shot back pretty much. And yeah, he's niche. Like, he's niche. He sucks against Diva quite a bit though. So please, Roadhog mains, stop playing him into Diva. Does not work out well. Every other tank, bar maybe Orisa and Mauga, Hog actually is pretty decent into, so thumbs up. You can play him against most things, just not everything. And then against every squishy and support and DPS, like, Hog is like, if you hook them, you cook them, it is what it is. Survive. The doctor of mid himself, Sigma. Sigma's mid. I'm genuinely not going to comment on that. Sigma's the most balanced character or tank in this game. He's always been middle of the pack. On his maps, he's good or meta, and then not on his maps and not against the compositions, you should be playing him into his niche or bad, but generally speaking, he's a very mid character. He's pretty good. Sigma's aight, and he used to have a decent matchup into Diva, but with the armor change, Sigma's just eh. Otherwise, Sigma would probably go up into the A tier. So Sigma, sorry about that, my guy. It is what it is. So Sojourn, so I don't know how to feel about the Sojourn changes just yet. I wouldn't necessarily say she's good meta. I would say Sojourn is mid, or maybe even niche. I don't know if the changes to her primary fire, which is basically the projectile spread that she does, I don't know if that was enough. I have played her a little bit here and there. It feels relatively the same. There's moments where it definitely feels better. I think we need a little bit more time with Sojourn, so just for now I'm going to drop her niche. I don't know how to feel about her, but I wouldn't necessarily call her bad. It also certainly doesn't help that Diva keeps a lot of the hit scans in check, and she also does a pretty good job of keeping Sojourn in check. So maybe when Diva drops, we can properly assess where Sojourn is. I will put her in niche tier for now. Sojourn 76, garbage character if the Diva is on the team. Other than that, he has really shit. Okay, so not only does he have a really shit matchup against Diva, Soldier's damage, just like Genji's, is really terrible against armor right now. I think Soldier is doing the lowest damage in the game against armor. I'm not exactly sure what the number is, if I'm not mistaken. I was reading a massive Reddit thread about why this new armor is bad, which I fully agree with, and I was already saying that before. Soldier is insanely terrible right now, and again, even against Winston, he's bad. If you play him against Brawl and Poke, he's okay. Like, he maybe goes up to niche or mid, C tier, B tier character. But against most of the dive characters right now, dude, Soldier is really bad. Please, for the love of God, stop playing Soldier into Diva Winston. It is you are the walking free kill against that tank. And both of those times, Winston and Diva are able to squeeze out a free kill depending on what you pick. Moving over to Sombra. Sombra is, okay, again, blistering hot take that I know a lot of people are not going to agree with me on, but this is my experience. Sombra is insanely good right now. The moment I saw her changes, those were the ones that stuck out to me like a sore thumb, and I was like, that is a disaster waiting to happen. That's the exact wording I used. They said, that virus damage increase and the faster stealth, that is a disaster waiting to happen. Sombra has a really good matchup in farming Diva that Diva cannot do much about because it will compromise her position if she does chase you, and now you can outrun her even faster. Sombra does an insane job at deleting 225 HP. Like, seriously, guys, like, even if you don't hack the character, if you just virus and hold left click on Mercy, Moira, Kiriko, they disappear. They're gone. They cannot react. It is so fast. It's insane. She has, like, if you are good on Sombra and you understand how to take your matchups, dude, she is so good. I've learned a lot of Sombra in the past 2-3 seasons because I really like playing her, and it's the closest I can feel to like the Genji, like, hyper mobile playstyle. Sombra is pretty damn good, and again, she's a really good matchup into Diva, but she's really like into Winston until the armor comes out. But when the Winston bubble goes down, oh my god, she can even make Winston's life a living hell. Sombra is really damn good, and of course the hack is very powerful against pretty much the entire roster, especially against tanks that rely on abilities. So Doomfist, you know, she destroys. Like Roadhog, she can make a living life a living hell, and because the virus damage is higher, it means she is charging EMP faster as well. Man, I actually had a game where I got EMP in 45 seconds. Do not sleep on Sombra, and while you're at it, abuse this character right now. They are going to gutter Sombra in this mid-season. They're going to give her the Genji 𝐒𝐈𝐓𝐄𝐑 treatment. I promise they're going to bring her down to this tier and give her the Genji 𝐒𝐈𝐓𝐄𝐑 treatment. So, you know, Sombra, insanely powerful character. Now my screen is bugging out, excuse me. So, Symmetra, niche. She's good on King of the Hill, as she's always been. But, there's a big but in here. She's very strong into Diva. She's very strong into Diva, and if you're playing someone against a Diva-based composition with your own comp doing pretty damn well, even with the Zarya on your side, Symmetra goes immediately into the A tier. Again, this is a specific situation where Symmetra goes into A tier. Generally speaking, she's a niche character, and in the best case scenario, in general senses, if you're a good Symmetra player, you understand how to play, she can be mid. I actually don't mind seeing Symmetras on my team nowadays. But she's still niche, that her strength is completely reliant on map structure design in order to get full value out of her kit, because it takes way too long to ramp up the beam that she puts out. However, there's not much that Diva can do about that long range ass beam that you got. And again, depending on the map, you can make a Diva player immediately swap off because wow, Symmetra takes over. And then they go Reaper, and then they go Winston to counter you, and then you go Reaper, and you go make their life a living hell, and then the cycle goes on, because that's just what Overwatch has become, sad times. Torbjorn. Okay, everybody knows, in this channel, I'm the resident Torbjorn hater, and I've been saying Torb has been really silly BA tier character for a while, and he does literally nothing to earn that spot. Nerf Torbjorn, I hate this guy, but I can't help but admit that he's at least mid. He's a B tier character. He's at least mid, not good, not bad, pretty much in the middle. His matchup against Tracer is so much better. One of the reasons you picked Torb was to counter Tracer, and right now Tracer's having a much harder time, and that does bring us to Tracer. Now, I will say the 5.5 damage did hurt Tracer a little bit, especially against tanks and their armor. She's definitely doing much less damage. Now, I do play a lot of Tracer myself, so I can vouch for that, but I will not, I won't take it away that, and I can't lie that Tracer is still a pretty damn good character. Like, again, her strengths are her strengths. She will always be good, and unless they maybe bring her down to 5 damage or touch her recall any further, or her blinks in any way by increasing the delay, she's going to be garbage. Now, if a Torbjorn's there, you immediately drop to like D tier, because fighting new Torbjorn, unless your team is really pressuring the Torb's turret and Torbjorn himself first, that armor increase on Torb, and the fact that Torb goes up to like, I think 400 HP. I think Torb goes up to like 400 HP if I'm not mistaken. It's like, dude, it can be a nightmare to fight him with Tracer, and then pair that with Illari's pylon. You are not having fun on Tracer. But outside of that niche scenario and situation, Trace is still pretty damn good character, and I think they're gonna leave her alone for a while to see how the game goes, and might buff everything else around her. However, I've said this before too, Tracer is the most honest and possibly the only character in the game with almost infinite skill ceiling. It is okay for her to always be meta. She is a character that you have to be good at to get the most value out of her. So I don't know, let's see what they do. If they nerf her anywhere beyond this, I'm gonna lose my mind on Blizzard. Widowmaker, niche character, but very good character on her map, and if you're making it work, not much more to say. Widow never changes. However, she does struggle against Winston Diva right now, so maybe she's niche. I'm thinking about it. Yeah, no, she's definitely niche. Like, Winston Diva always pressured her quite a bit. And Sombra, oh yeah, Sombra's being really good right now, so Widow's just niche. Like, she does struggle against Winston, Sombra, Diva, but it's fine. Like, if you're landing headshots, Widow's like still A tier character, but outside of that, if you're not making it work, you're garbage swap. Winston, oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So, I'm gonna drop a hot take. Not a lot of people are gonna like it. Diva is very oppressive. I 100% agree. But I am beginning to feel a huge frustration towards the buffed up barrier that Winston has, and also the way armor is working on Winston. I think right behind Diva, Winston is very strong, and I will put Winston in meta pick. If there is a good Winston, it is a nightmare to deal with them, even if you pick all his counters. A good Winston fully dominates the game. I personally don't mind if there's strength in Winston's barrier, which can feel like a slog to shut down sometimes, and Diva's Matrix. That's fine if you want to put more tankiness in the abilities. Although the one common theme I'm noticing as to what the major frustrating point into fighting these tanks is that armor. Please nerf armor and remove the headshot reduction. One of them has to go to see how tank feels after that, because right now Winston and Diva are dominating the game with it. It is so one-sided. If you have a good Winston Diva, it's basically GG's, right? It's crazy. So Wrecking Ball, niche. I ain't even gonna talk about him. Niche. I think you can figure out why, especially this. But yeah, so yeah, Zarya, good. I would actually say people are underestimating Zarya quite a bit. I put out a hot take in my previous video where I was like, dude, I think Zarya is way too silly right now. And there was a comment that was like, well, why do you think Zarya is so strong? It's like, dude, her barrier has her bubble has so much more HP, and the uptime is so long that it, like, again, a good Zarya that knows how to initially start with the 3 bubble like cycle, it just feels like she's immortal sometimes, right? So it's like, we have to pick one. Do we let her keep the barrier up longer, or do we keep the bubble? It's called projected barrier, so I don't know. But if the bubble gets to stay up longer, is that what we want? Or do we want to allow for the fact that, we reduce the HP a little bit? In my personal opinion, if they want to keep the bubble up longer, I'm more okay with that, since it it indirectly like forces you to slow down and give her the, allows her to bring her impact into the game. I think making the bubbles tankier is just not good for the game. I don't think that's something. So personally, if I had to nerf Zarya, I'm okay, and I'm willing to bear with the fact that bubble can stay up longer, but I think the bubble HP really needs to go. It's way too much, vice versa, or just nerf both things, because even, here's another hot take, I think even with both those buffs gone to Zarya, I think Zarya's still a pretty damn good character. And yeah, she's pretty damn good. So Zarya, very good character. Zenyatta's not having the time of his life. He's a really bad character right now. Again, just look at what's meta right now. Zen, there's a very niche situations where you can make Zen work, but any decent dive comp right now, any decent poke comp right now can single out Zen, especially with Mercy's damage boost on Ashe or even on Pharah. Zen just, he's gone. It's poor Zen, man. Ramatra, A-tier pick. Not bad. He's actually pretty damn good once you're not running into Diva and Winston who can just completely outpace you. He's pretty good. We don't have much to say. Him and Ryan arguably now have a more close matchup than ever before because of the way armor functions. I would say that, yeah, it really is like just dependent on who gets the first few hits. If Ryan gets the first few hits in, it's his matchup to win. If Ramatra gets the first few punches in, then it's his matchup to win. At least that's what I felt when I've been playing both characters and also being on the receiving end of both characters. Brings us down to 𝐓𝐈𝐈𝐓. I am possibly the only person who has ever said that 𝐓𝐈𝐈𝐓 for multiple seasons is an A-tier character. The problem with 𝐓𝐈𝐈𝐓 is that a lot of his player base doesn't understand how to get max value out of him. But when you do have a really good 𝐓𝐈𝐈𝐓 player that cannot be killed, that cannot be contested, that is pumping out healing like crazy, I think 𝐓𝐈𝐈𝐓 is good. I would put, like, I usually put him in A-tier because I think he's pretty damn good when you get a 𝐓𝐈𝐈𝐓 that understand what he's doing with like another main healing support. However, I will say that he's kind of mid. His buffs were really damn good. I will say his buffs were really damn good. The problem is that the meta right now is like, arguably it's somewhat dive, and he's just really poor against all of that, especially with new buffed up Sombra making his life even worse. So if we do end up like nerfing these like Sombra, Winston, Diva, especially if Winston, Diva disappear, Weaver is actually going to pop up back into, again, my opinion, A-tier, and he's just going to be really good. He's really good with brawl comps. Like if you play with brawl comps, he's really good. 𝐒𝐈𝐈. Okay, so I love 𝐒𝐈𝐈 to death. 𝐒𝐈𝐈 is my favorite support player right now. I think she's by far one of the best designed supports they ever released until we get to Pylon. That is the big asterisk over there. Pylon is a big problem. And what I never understand when it comes to balancing 𝐒𝐈𝐈 is, why do we nerf every other part of our kit that no one complains about? Except the Pylon, which is what everybody complains about. And this is the only time I'm going to get tilted. Because as somebody who enjoys playing 𝐒𝐈𝐈 as the pseudo sniper with a nice fun resource management that I need to aim my beam and heal people, I like doing that stuff because that's me doing it. Why is the power of 𝐒𝐈𝐈 in the Pylon? I'm going to dedicate an even bigger video to 𝐒𝐈𝐈 in the coming week. It's just so frustrating. Please, nerf Pylon, buff the rest of 𝐒𝐈𝐈, but nerf Pylon. 𝐒𝐈𝐈 still A-tier. She's pretty damn good. Like, she's not bad. Like, she's a little bit more heal body now. But Pylon's strength on the maps that it does come online is very damn good. And yeah, her overall damage potential has gone down. At best case scenario, she's good. At worst case scenario, she's mid. So that's my opinion on her. Mauga, niche. Not good, not bad. Niche. That's it. I don't want to talk about him. Venture, same thing. Not good, not bad. Niche. Juno, also same thing. Not good, not bad. Niche and arguably sometimes bad. I think Juno's buffs were nice. But the problem with Juno is I actually unironically think Juno doesn't need 225 HP. Juno is the easiest character to dive. I would argue that she's even easier to dive than Zenyatta. However, if you are playing into Brawl, or with Brawl, against another Brawl or Rush Com, she's really not that bad. She's just niche. Unfortunately, she didn't take over Lucio's spot in the game. I want to talk about this in the near future as to why Juno couldn't replace Lucio. And I think it's been talked about by other coaches and people as well. But I will talk about in the near future. But guys, that is my tier list. Again, these are early impressions. This is not the guaranteed list. We did get the hotfix patch recently, and we have had some changes here and there. Overall, like, I do think this is what the strength level is for some of the characters. Maybe some of them are a little bit interchangeable depending on map composition and situation. But generally speaking, in my opinion, this is what I feel like is what the cast is looking like. If you disagree with that, it's okay. We can have a respectful and thoughtful discussion in the comments. This is not a guaranteed thing, guys. Like, in your rank, maybe Diva's not better. Maybe it's freaking Reinhardt, and you can tell me why Reinhardt is dominating the silver elo. So, you know what? With that being said, let's go ahead and do that. Let's have a discussion down below. And if you you want to continue supporting the channel, all you have to do is like, subscribe, and it means the world to me. With that being said, we'll see you in tomorrow's video, which is going to be something interesting. I think we're going to do something about my honest thoughts on the season. So with that being said, see you then.